My name is Angela. I'm a wife, mom, writer, and photographer behind the blog Crown and Countryside. Join me on my quest to create a slower life with natural food and homemaking.
Hello, welcome back. This week we're going to try a few fun things. We are going to roll our own sushi rolls, make our own homemade butter and buttermilk, try some homemade oat milk, and make a new DIY cleaner. And as a bonus, because my family was begging me to make this again, I'm bringing back the granola that is a huge hit. So stick around. I'm going to timestamp all these things so you can follow along or skip to the things that you want to see the most. So what I learned this week about sushi, make no mistake, I am not at all a sushi chef. There is a very long and time-honored art of rolling sushi, and I am just a beginner at it. So follow along because I can demonstrate that anyone can try this at home, but there is a lot to learn and I am still learning it. So I am definitely not an expert on sushi yet. But one of the things I've learned is that in order to get a good roll, you have to use sushi rice. You can't use just any rice that you happen to have. And you do have to soak it. So I am right now soaking these little rice grains, and I just keep repeating, filling the bowl with water and pouring it out. I'm kind of using my hand as a filter to keep the rice in the bowl. But I just keep doing that until the rice seems kind of clear. By the end, I could see the rice in the bottom underneath the water. At the beginning, it was too cloudy for that, so I figured that the starches were washing off. Also, I was noticing that in the beginning, the rice all stayed in a clump in the bottom of the bowl as I was pouring it. And at the end, it was a lot harder to keep the rice in the bowl with my hand. So I figured the texture of the rice was changing. So that was probably a signal to be done with the rinsing portion of this process. So then I had to add it to a stock pot with rice vinegar. Traditionally, they use sugar, but I am trying to avoid sugar these days. So I used a little bit of stevia and salt, and that gives it that nice sushi flavor. The rice in sushi has a very distinctive flavor, and it is the rice vinegar that gives it that flavor. When you're cooking rice, make sure to leave the lid on the entire time, because if you peek, a lot of the water will evaporate, and that water needs to go into hydrating that rice. While the rice is cooking, we are going to try some homemade butter. I cannot imagine living in a time when people did this by hand. That sounds backbreaking to me. I felt like it took a long time in the KitchenAid, and all I had to do was watch it. You could see in the background here that I'm just kind of sitting there and watching it. So doing it by hand would be significantly harder, and it would take all day. So I'm very thankful for appliances such as this that can give me a great homemade product without breaking my back. It was really fun to watch this process. The cream really transformed just right in front of my eyes. It became butter, and it was just really fun to watch that. So I have this on a time lapse. You could see me running around all over the place in the background. But I just wanted to give you an idea of how the cream changes as you go through this process. It kind of expands and fills up the entire bowl, and then it shrinks down again as it becomes butter, and it separates into a nice butter curd, and then the liquid runoff is buttermilk. And it was really fun to see both of those things come to fruition. You could also see the color changing. It was pure white, as you could see, and then it turned into like this golden butter. So that was pretty fun. Now our rice is done, and I actually don't have an oki bowl or a rice paddle, but if I'm going to continue on with this sushi tradition and I'm going to learn to make more of it, I think it would be a worthwhile investment to get those things. So I just used a glass bowl and a spatula that I happen to have. What you need to do at this part, at least what I'm hearing, is that you have to be careful not to smash the rice down, but rather separate all the clumps and kind of keep it fluffy. Just separate all the little grains and make it just a really nice, even texture. This is our nori, our seaweed wrap. And then the imitation crab that I used. You can add all kinds of things to sushi. You can add cream cheese, you can add cucumber, you can add avocado, you can add different types of fish, but I just went with a really basic crab recipe for today. This is the second time I've made sushi, and I'm still very much a beginner. There's a lot to learn from the experts, but what I found between the first time and the second time is that bowl of water for dipping your fingers in is extremely important because the rice is so sticky that it will just stick to everything if you don't rinse your fingers off in between. And I found too that I needed to put more rice on the ends because my ends were very wimpy and when I trimmed them off. And I also need to be using a sharper knife. So there's a lot of things that I think that I need to be doing differently. However, all of that said, I did end up with a finished product that looks and tastes something like sushi. So I feel like that is a win. I know that, I am not at all a sushi master, but it was a lot of fun to learn, and I think that I can still be learning it for a long time to come. I'm going to link a video for you to watch if you're interested in learning from someone who knows what they're doing. So this was pretty fun. Next, I'm trying oat milk. I first became hooked on oat milk from a coffee shop near us called Winans. and I had them put oat milk in my coffee or in my latte or whatever it was I ordered that day. And it just gave it such a rich flavor. I feel like my body runs on carbs. I really need the carbs. If I don't, I have a lot of things happen that shouldn't. I have a lot of fatigue and anxiety and things like that. So adding a carb to my coffee was really helpful. So I really wanted to make oat milk. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian or anything like that. But if you're avoiding dairy for any reason, or not even avoiding dairy, but just want to add a carb to your coffee, this is a great way to do it. I was pretty pleased with how it turned out. However, I just realized as I was doing it that the blending takes a total of 20 seconds. It's extremely fast. However, the part that took the longest was waiting for it to drain, because everything that I read said that if you force this process to go faster by squeezing it, is going to make your oat milk slimy, because you'll be squeezing all of those little oat fibers into your oat milk, and you really don't want to do that. You want to let it drip. And so I was getting impatient waiting for it to finish, and I was kind of stirring the bottom of the cloth, trying to lift up the pulp on the bottom to make room for the liquid to flow through, but I was trying to not create a slimy oat milk. Nobody likes that. I got these new glass jars from Azure Standard, and this month I'm getting some in the quart size because I love the half-gallon jars, but if all you have available is half-gallon jars, those jars are pretty big. Everybody needs a little bit of quart jars in their life as well. And now I am actually remaking my dish soap that I made last week. If you remember, I was semi-happy with it. It cleaned my dishes. It did the job. It did a really good job, actually. But it did not lather, and I was a little bit disappointed because, to me, like, what is soap that doesn't lather? I just need it to give me the bubbles in order to really appreciate it. So I'm trying it again. I tweaked some of the ingredients and my method. As you can see, I am using a saucepan here. That is because I'm going to heat it up. Last time I mixed it right in the bottle, and I feel like that was just not doing the trick. I also added, in addition to the Castile soap and stuff, I added glycerin. Last time, the glycerin was kind of an afterthought because I was like, oh, maybe this will help it suds. But this time, I wanted to really hone in on the things that I would think would help it out. So there's my essential oils and glycerin, and I'm going to heat it up over the stove and then put it in the bottle. I feel like it made a huge difference. I'm getting actual bubbles, which is what I was going for. And this is my all-purpose cleaner. It is the simplest recipe you could imagine. Straight vinegar is a little bit acidic for what we want. So I have diluted the vinegar with filtered water and also added essential oils to cover up the vinegar smell and created just a wonderful spray that will just sanitize any surface in the house. And this is my hand soap from a few weeks back. I was running out in the bathroom and we were having company that night, so I definitely needed to have hand soap ready. So I love this little jar that I got, the glass jar with the foaming lid. So all it is Castile soap, water, and essential oils for fragrance. This recipe was one that we did a few weeks ago that my family just loved and we are out of. So I love how versatile this recipe is. Other than the oats, basically everything in it is substitutable. You don't have to do the raisins, you don't have to do the almonds, you don't have to do the flax seeds. They all have equal and opposite, or should I say like a half a dozen equal and opposite things that you could do. You could do coconut flakes, you could do chocolate chips, or sunflower seeds, or pumpkin seeds, or just about anything that you could think of. So there's a ton of stuff. The coconut oil could be avocado oil or some other kind of oil, and the maple syrup could be honey. You could just really do a lot of different things with this. I did chia seeds because that's what I had on hand, but I have an order of coconut oil coming from As Your Standard that I can't wait to use in my granola. I should say coconut flakes. Thanks for hanging out with me as I do my food prep and household prep in the kitchen. We will see you next week. Bye.